Are you ready to take our first caller?
Yeah, who would you like to talk to first?
I'd love to talk to Theo.
All right. Now, here's the deal with Theo, real fast, before we jump into this. Do you think Christianity is beneficial or harmful for society? Has been used twice by the same troll last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, Theo, I've got my hand on the drop button, just in case.
Theo,
right.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, you're not that troll, are you?
No.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
What did you want to talk about?
That's good.
Absolutely. And, you know, I hope you guys are doing well. Like, I hope you're doing well, Eric and Bila Bianca.
Yeah,
We're
thank
doing
you.
very well.
Absolutely. So, I guess my question was, like, what caused you to become atheist? Like, what was kind of like your life story?
Damn.
That is a really tough question. I hope you understand that we're going to give you an abbreviated version because that is just a very long story. Oh, you're in Texas, aren't you, Theo? I can hear the wind. It is a windy day outside today.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get any chance to shelter from the wind, that would be helpful just for the people listening. V, do you want to go first?
Sure. So for me, it really was, I think that the turn of phrase that I really like is death by a thousand cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't this one big moment that made me an atheist. There was no big traumatic event. There was no, single professor or single class that in college that turned me atheist. It was a lot more kind of slow and nuanced than that. So I think for me, it was asking a lot of questions and not really getting good answers, even from people who everyone else said were the people with the answers. So I was unlucky enough, just to go to a Christian college. I had a lot of really intensely learned and scholarly professors in Bible history, in interpretation, in theology and philosophy. And so these were people that everyone was like, these guys know what they're talking about. And they did not give good answers to my questions, which led me to search elsewhere, which kind of opened me up to other ways of thinking just because I was looking for them. It went from there. I would say that the entire process took from 2014 to 2018, 2017 to be like a complete cycle. So it took me 3-4 years to actually realize that I was an atheist and not some other form of religious person or spiritual or, all those other definitions I cycled through in that time.
Yeah. Theo, before I give my story, do you want the opportunity to respond to V?
Sure. I guess I would just ask, like, what question would you get answers for?
Oh, yeah. What kinds of questions?
Ooh.
That's good.
We made that graphic.
Yeah.
Okay. So since it's for V, you go ahead and then I'll.
Yeah. We are going to need to keep chugging, it looks like.
Okay. Theo, V and I are just going to be catching up with the live chat. We hope you understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm a little bit ahead of you, so I've got like 6. All right, Theo. So questions that I didn't get answers to were, what is the Trinity? How real, how legitimate is the Bible in terms of inerrancy or infallibility? Where are the first copies of these manuscripts, and how have we, how did we figure out that Jesus lived, existed, died, was resurrected? All these things that we take, for granted that happened. How did we come about those? Our understanding of those? And a lot of logical contradictions ended up happening, especially around the concept of a omnipotent, omnipresent, omnibenevolent God, how that could coexist. So slowly but surely, it started chipping away at that first form of Christianity, which was very conservative, very evangelical, very Protestant. And so once that kind of fell away, it wasn't like, oh, so God doesn't exist. It was, oh, God must be something else. God must have different attributes that do make sense. So then I started diving into more progressive forms of Christianity. I looked into reincarnation for a while. Is this a thing? How do we know? How do we tell? I moved into Wicca for a while and witchcraft, and kind of tried to find my spirituality center there, and then ultimately was like, okay, I guess none of these things are meeting the criteria that I've set up for everything else in my life. So maybe it's best to maybe play around with it if it's fun, but not use that as a ballast for the rest of my life.
I see.
Yeah. How about, oops.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what are your thoughts there? Or Eric, if you want to jump in, I need to catch up on the...
Sure, I can chime in unless you have anything else that you wanted to ask V.
Yeah, I guess just like, well, what are your thoughts on meaning? Do you think like life is meaningful in both ways, like being a Christian or not being a Christian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a great way to put that, honestly. I think that life is meaningful because we are beings that create meaning. And some people have created meaning through their religion. And some people have created meaning outside of that religion or within a different religion. So I think that, yeah, every single person has meaning. And it's not an inherent thing that we are given. It's something that we create and find as we go.
I entirely agree. And just to kind of tie in there, Theo, so when you are a religious scholar, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I'm a Christian.
Okay, so Theo, when you say, do you find meaning, I'm assuming that you're implying that you find your meaning through being a Christian?
Yeah, like I ground my identity in God and in Christ.
Okay. So would you say without God or Christ, you're nothing?
Well, I guess like this world is temporal, right? Well, like if I try to see what makes me valuable is the amount of money in my bank account. Well, if that drops to nothing, then it's like, okay, nothing to live for. But what makes me valuable is that I'm with this girl or I'm with this guy. If they go, then it's like, okay, no point in living.
Agreed.
Like this, a lot of stuff in this is temporal.
Well, but here's the thing. I don't think you should base your value of self on those things. And I'm an atheist. So if the idea is, and I know that when I was a Christian, that was the idea, is if you don't have God, then you must draw your value from money or from attention from other people. But that's not the case. You're talking to two atheists right now, and I think I can comfortably speak for both of us. And when I say that we draw our value of ourselves from ourselves, and I think that everyone does that. In fact, I think the language of, well, you need God to have value, let's replace that with boyfriend. Because that idea of, oh, well, your relationship with another person, I'm going to ground my self-esteem and my value in the relationship with this other person. I was like, you need
God to have boyfriend?
No, but without me, you're nothing. That's abusive. I mean... do you think that a relationship with God, without that, you don't have value? I mean, I'm trying to kind of figure out where you're coming from, because from where I'm sitting, that doesn't sound healthy at all.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I see God. He is our good Heavenly Father. He loves us best for us. He knows what's best for us. He always calls us to Him. And I don't think that he's abusive. Rather, I think that I'm a sinner. I do bad things. I rebel against him. And he pays for my sins. Like, I deserve to go to hell to pay for the bad things I've done, but he paid for me. And when I accept that he paid for me, my sins are paid for. So so his righteousness covers my own unrighteousness. Yeah,
that just sounds abusive.
Here's what I think, Theo, and I think that at face value, if you say that, and because I was right there with you, it's not abusive in the way that you're thinking about it. In the way that you're thinking about it, the world is set up in a particular way. God gave you an out, a very merciful out based on the rules of this world, and you get to take that out with minimal harm or damage to yourself, right? Like you get to say, yeah, Jesus saved me. All right, I'm good. I'm good. That was easy. And it was something that I could do. It was within my reach. And now I'm set. And that feels merciful. It really does, until you start thinking a little bit deeper into those layers and go, okay, well, if these are the rules of the universe, who made the universe and who set up those rules? Were these rules within God's capacity to change? And if they were, why doesn't he? Why does he make it so that there is a hell? Why does he make it so there is necessary payment for sin? Why is there sin? So once you start asking those deeper questions, that's where Eric's coming from. Because in Eric's mind and in my mind, what we're talking about is not what you're saying. What you're saying makes sense on one level. But when you go deeper and you start asking these other questions, it starts looking like God set up an impossible system. And a lot of people are going to suffer because of that system, even if they try to play by his rules.
And this is specifically in the mindset of, you were asking what kind of questions were we asking when we wound up leaving?
Exactly these kinds of questions.
Yeah.
So I guess like why would you say it's like an impossible system?
Well, so let's see. Do you believe in original sin?
No. I believe we have a sin nature.
Okay, so you don't believe in sin being a blood curse that you inherited from birth?
Yeah. I think that I don't believe we inherit sin from Adam and Eve.
Okay, so then where does sin come from?
Sin is the rejection of God. So it's privation, a lack. So like how darkness is a lack of light, sin is a lack of God. It's like me rejecting God or you rejecting God.
So I totally get it. Just where do you get that from? Because that doesn't come from the Bible. The Bible gives you a very clear statement of where sin comes from. So where are you getting that from if not the Bible? Like, are you just making that up?
Like I don't see like how that doesn't come from the Bible.
Well, I can pull out my Bible and read to you exactly where sin comes from, and it is a blood curse that is bestowed on Adam and Eve for eating of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. That's what that is.
This graphic is staying up until you take a drink.
Oh God. Okay. Another one?
Another one.
Okay, fine.
All right. Do you want to get your Bible and read it, or are we good to agree that maybe if we're dispensing with the typical story of Adam and Eve, which I agree doesn't really make sense in the context of understanding how the world came to be. So that's cool that you're on that page. That's already kind of a step too far for a lot of Christians. But yeah, I'm curious, is this an interpretation of that works with our current understanding of evolution and biology? Is this from something else? Maybe a pastor has told you this, maybe a theologian that you've read?
Or maybe is this a gentler version that is a little more palatable?
Well, I just believe this is in line with what the Bible teaches, like, that God, he's good, he's holy, and, God doesn't lie, he's always truth revealing, and there's no higher standard of good than God. So,
well,
like, if you look at...
I actually, Theo, that's a great statement. You said there's no higher standard of good than God. Good is God, good is holy. Fantastic. Let's test that. I've been doing a lot of research into the Old Testament. Is genocide ever good?
Genocide? Well, like, humans should not be murdering other humans. And, yeah, so... What
if God tells you to? Because if you look at the conquest of Canaan and read through, kings and... oh, gosh, now I need to grab my Bible. V, hold on just a second. Can you hold down the fort? I'm grabbing my Bible.
All right. So I love this conversation, by the way, Theo. I really appreciate that you're calling in. It sounds like you really want to have this conversation, which is perfect. It's great. I guess my question for you, as Eric finds the verses that he's looking for, are, as we're talking, why are we having this conversation? Are these questions that you might be thinking about too, or are you hoping that maybe we'll come around to you, or like what prompted you to call in today?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, yeah, like I just think about these questions. I think about like, why did God put me here? What's the meaning of life? Is there, like, what gives people value? And if we look around society in modern day, people are suffering from like an identity crisis where uh, they don't really know like what gives them value as a person. So people will try to say, well, what gives me value is like money or the amount of like fame I have or power or being with a person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think I'm curious. You've used that example, money, power, sex, even as reasons why somebody might find meaning outside of your faith. And the only thing that's sticking with me there as kind of a concern is that I've heard those three used very often: money, sex, power, but they're never talked about by actual non-Christians in my experience. In my experience, the people talking about those non-Christians who want money, sex, and power are other Christians. So as we jump in, because I don't want to take this down too far of a rabbit hole for you, Eric, but I would encourage you. I agree. Those are bad reasons to build an identity. Those are bad reasons to find meaning. And I think that we can find meaning in better, more sustainable, more empathetic things. But I would also encourage you to talk to other non-Christians about what exactly they find meaning in, because I doubt that you're going to find a whole bunch of people saying money, sex, or power.
Yeah, I was wondering like where is like a good place to like meet other like non-Christians and such. Like, do you guys have like a Discord server or?
We do.
We do. So if you look in the lower third a little bit later, it's listed in the lower third. It's also listed in the description for the show. If you go to tiny.cc/SG Discord, we have a growing Discord. It is moderated. So if people want to hop in and troll, they're not going to last very long. But if you want an honest, genuine discourse and dialogue, feel free to come and join us.
Absolutely. A lot of people have asked the same exact questions that you're asking and have their own takes on it, right? We're just two assholes on the internet.
Yep.
So like, we're going to give you our examples and our takes and our suggestions, but every single person who has thought through these things has a little bit of a different take. So definitely, if you're interested in continuing that, the Discord is a great place to go.
Also, for those people who want to check out our Facebook group, there is also a Facebook group for Skeptic Generation as well.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, Theo, there are just a lot of things that you kind of included in there that V rightly pointed out, the idea that, money, sex, or power would be things that we would necessarily need in order for self-esteem, identity, all of that, reason for being. And you also, it seems like you're implying that being told what your reason for being in is better. Like, you're talking to people who don't have confidence that the Bible is accurately reflecting the real world. And so if just a book is the reason you're, finding value in your life, like that also seems kind of flimsy on our side too, looking at it from the outside.
Well, I mean, I guess, do you believe like there is like a good, like something that is above us, a law that we're all accountable to? Like, I mean, if you look at Sam Harris.
I got it. So you said there's a law everyone is accountable to. Like what?
Well, I guess God's law, right? God.
Okay, so but you can't use God's law to explain God's law as an example. Like, what kind of rules are important that you're getting from God that we aren't getting, from not God?
What kind of rules?
Yeah.
Well, I guess one would be to one to love, right? No idolatry. So, I mean, that's definitely right, a relationship.
Okay, so no idolatry.
Well, I can guarantee you we're not worshiping any idols, so
Yeah.
we're good on that one.
Yeah. I mean, you're worshiping a thing, so I think you might be closer to that than we are.
You got 2.
I already drank one.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, how about murder? You know, or like I said, genocide. How about rape? Right? I think we get to those through secular means because God commits those things in the Bible.
Do you, I guess, like, do you, like, hold to what Sam Harris holds to, the whole maximizing well-being?
I think it's a good metric, but I take Sam Harris with a grain of salt. I take what I find useful, but that doesn't mean that I hold strong to everything. But in case people haven't read Harris, are you specifically talking about morals, ethics? What was it? Better Angels of Our Nature, I think. Was that the book?
Not quite sure. So for those of you who might not know what maximizing well-being is, so essentially there's this theory among some ethics philosophers who are secular that a good metric for establishing a baseline morality is minimizing harm and maximizing well-being. So anything that we can agree as a society does one of those things, that is a good thing. If we can minimize the harm caused by a thing, or put up confines around a thing that causes harm, that's a good thing. And also, if we can find things that maximize everybody's well-being, that's also a good thing. So those are kind of the 2 criteria for what we would consider to be good in a non-religious society. And that has a basis in just understanding how we benefit when the rest of our group, the rest of our in-group actually has access to things that maximize well-being, right? We have more time to pursue the arts if we are, food and housing secure, right? Which a lot of people even in the US aren't. So yeah, that's kind of a baseline. And I'm curious, Theo, what about that doesn't strike true to you, or does it strike true to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess with regards to maximizing well-being, I guess the question is who defines what is well-being? Like, what is maximizing well-being? Like, is it you? Is it me? Is it like a group of wise graybeards?
I hope not. Although apparently, right about now in the U.S., that's what it feels like. A bunch of just gray old dudes deciding. But okay, no so that's actually that's a really good question, Theo. And what I'm going to say is not going to be comfortable, but it's going to be my take. My take is that nobody decides. We are all trying to figure this out together, and there are lots of warring ideas about what actually is good for society and what isn't. And that's what we're seeing right now across the board, especially in places like Texas. We're seeing groups both saying, this is what is good for society by my metric, and warring that out, right? And so what we're seeing is actually that concept in action. And it's not comfortable because there is no one thing that everybody can agree on. But what it does is it allows us to battle it out and kind of see what comes on top and then measure that by their success rate and see, okay, well, some people think that this thing will reduce abortion, for example, and some people think that this thing will reduce abortion. Well, both have been tried. Let's look at the metrics. What actually succeeds in that? Is it limiting abortion access, or is it increasing secular sex education in schools? Which one seems to do better? What if we put them together? What if we get rid of it all? Like, all of these things that are so fraught right now is exactly the result of a bunch of different people coming together with their idea of what maximizing well-being looks like and trying to hash it out.
It's fair.
So Theo,
Go ahead.
it's okay. So we do have other callers, but can I leave you with something? Y'all have been talking about arguing. V was specifically talking about arguing what you think is moral. People figuring out and pushing back on each other about what they think is ethical and moral and right for society. Do you value questioning those kinds of things, or do you think that we should take them as fiat?
Yeah, I definitely do value, questioning. Like,
Okay.
What?
Okay. So I think that alone is undercut in the Bible. I really don't think it's a good book for achieving those goals that you're looking for, man. If you want to look at doubting Thomas. I mean, look at how much Abraham was lauded for being willing to unquestioningly take his son Isaac up to the top of a mountain to murder his own son, right? Look at how much doubting Thomas was scorned for having the gall to question, these wild claims. I mean, throughout the Bible, you find that people who want to ask questions like that are cut, just undercut, cut down. It's really not great. But anyway, Theo, hopefully you got some value out of this conversation. I think we did.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, La Bianca. I was just wondering, so on Discord, Bianca, do you go by the Magical Mystic?
No, I don't actually. I'm not on Discord very often at all. I am V La Bianca on Discord, but you probably won't see me there unless it's an after show, at least currently, because it's a scary platform that has lots of moving parts, and I'm an old person in my soul. So you might not see me around too much, but we will be having a little bit of an after show if we are still sober. Well,
that's if we can manage to get to Discord at all, we'll try.
Absolutely, but go for it. And feel free to call back as well. I think that this is a great conversation. I think you're an awesome conversation partner, and I would love to continue talking to you about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Bye.
Take care. That's a lot of absolutely's.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that wasn't in the rules. Okay.